Hey my Shanty Peeps, today I'm going to do another Wicca 101 and this is about tools associated with the element of fire. Fire is, the second of the elements. The first we talked about is air. I'm going to talk about fire, which is associated with the direction of south. It is associated with tools like the wand and candles, obviously, which are fire. And burning things as well. It's not really a tool, but it's an action. So for wands, you can do things like, you buy, a very expensive, elaborate wand. You can find them on Etsy. You can find them in shops. You can find a stick on the ground, and you can, some people will put crystals on it. They'll use a very particular type of wood. They might keep it very rustic, or they might, carve it and carve, runes or inscribe, different magical symbols on it. That's really up to you as far as what you want, how elaborate you want it to be. But it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can literally be a stick that you found on the ground that you love and that means something to you. Now, I'm going to show you a wand that I made that I'm not using anymore, but I did keep, if I can find it. To drop things. Here it is. As I drop more things. Haha. So this is it. It's a piece of elm that was wrapped. It was the spring equinox spell that we did. We made wands wrapped in red and purple ribbon, which was significant for various things. So this is an example of a wand that cost me nothing pretty much, except for maybe the ribbon from the dollar store. So that is a very cheap economic sort of wand. I also now, though, I'm using a crystal as my wand. I do have this rose quartz crystal that I use as a wand. As you can see, it's like in a wand kind of shape. It's got the point to direct energy with. And wands are used to direct energy when you've raised energy in a spell and direct it towards a target. So that is what I use. So you can use crystals as well as wands. And like I said, you can find some very elaborate wands online. I also had one I used to use a long time ago that I don't have anymore, but it was basically just like a slim glass rod, and it had a star kind of at the end, and I glued some crystals to it, and it looked very fairy-like, and I really love that wand. So you can be very imaginative when it comes to making your own wand, and it doesn't have to be expensive. The other thing, of course, tool associated with fire is candles. There's all sorts of different kinds of candles that you can use for spell work. Now, I have a god and goddess candle on my altar, and you've probably seen them in the past. I have, for the goddess, I picked up this pillar candle in a jar. It's got Mary on it with Jesus, but to me, Mary is just another representation of the goddess, so I'm perfectly comfortable with that. And then I also have Jesus as well as a representative, like for the God candle, just because I think he's another representative for the God. So you can get those. I got these at the dollar store. You can get these religious candles very inexpensively. And if you're not comfortable with these images, you can always take the images off and make your own images and put them on the candle, or just leave them in the colors that you have. So those are candles that I use. For spell work, I prefer using these smaller taper candles. You can get them in a whole variety of colors. That's what they look like there. And they don't take very long to burn. You don't need a giant candle for a spell. You can use these simple ones that usually take, I don't know, it's usually a couple of hours to burn, 2-3 hours. And you can get them in a whole variety of colors. I have a bag here full of different colors. I always keep different colors with me because you never know what color you might want. I'm going to do a whole other video about color associations, because to me color is also associated with fire. The colors can mean different things, but if you don't have any colors, if you just have white is a stand-in for anything. You can use white candle for any kind of spell, so keep that in mind. So I always keep a little bag of all these different colored candles. I have a local metaphysical shop that keeps these in all these different colors, so I like to just have a multiple colors around for whatever kind of spell I need. And then I have a little, it's kind of covered in wax, but just like a little candle holder to put the candle in on top of my pentacle. Some people use the larger taper candles, especially if they're doing a spell over several days. They might, one way to do it is if you can take the candle and you can mark a line on it. If you're doing like a week-long spell, maybe mark 7 lines, and when it burns down to the line, put it out, and the next day burn it down, next day burn it down, and that's a way to do kind of like a spell over a longer term. You can also get candles that are in a variety of shapes. You can usually find these at metaphysical shops as well. You can find ones that are in the shape of a man or a woman. Especially if you're doing kind of a spell to heal someone, you might want, you know, in whatever gender they are, a shape like that. There's also skull candles you can use for protection. There's all sorts of different shaped candles, and you can look up, there's different kind of spells you can use with the different shaped candles. Multiple colors, there's rainbow colored ones, there's all sorts of different candles. It's like an amazing sort of array of things that you can do. And with candles, I mean, besides just burning them, you can scratch in magical symbols or runes on there. You can dress them with different oils to, you know, help with the association, roll them in herbs, all these different things that you can do. Like if you just practice candle magic, you can do so many things. So candles are a really, really versatile tool, and I think it's something that probably every witch uses. Maybe not. There might be somebody out there that doesn't, but most people, I would say, use them to some degree. You can also use candles when you're casting a circle to represent the 4 directions. I use the traditional yellow for east, red for south, blue for west, and green for north. But some traditions do have slightly different variations of colors, but those are the ones that I have been taught and that I use. Because I kind of have an issue with having to make candles and I worry about fire, I don't actually, when I cast a spell, use candles to represent the quarters. I have little statues that represent the quarters. So I have this crystal angel for east. I have this dragon for south, for fire. I have these shells for the west. Nope. Can't really see them. There. And for north, I have this little box with a pentacle on it. It's a wooden box, and inside are all these tiny crystals, and that's what I use to represent north or earth. So that's what I do when I cast a circle. I place them on the quarters. So that's what I do to represent the quarters instead of a candle. But a lot of people use candles, and even just tea lights, like a little white tea light if you don't have colors. That can definitely be a stand-in as well. So, you know, you don't have to buy anything super expensive or have an elaborate candle collection. If you just have some white taper candles, even white tea lights, you can do a lot with that. So it doesn't have to be expensive when you're collecting tools. If you're setting up your altar, if you're setting up a magical kind of cabinet for doing different spells and things. So those are the 2 tools I definitely associate with fire, is candles and the wand. I also associate artwork as well with it, having sacred images, because to me, fire is about creativity, and that's about art to me, and so I also associate having pictures and things. I have this picture here of the god and the goddess that I use with my altar. And you know, you may not, again, it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. You might print it off the computer and put it in the frame. It doesn't have to be this expensive painting or anything. You might make your own painting. You might make a sculpture if you're, you know, really good at making, you know, clay things as imagery for worshiping the god and the goddess. So it's really up to you and to your imagination. So if you have any other suggestions, you can put them below, things that you associate with the element of fire, tools. Like and subscribe, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye.